Welcome to DC. You know where you at the USA count. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it down. The G.O., the G.O.
All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. It is an Opposition Wednesday, and for that, we did a little double dipping. We have Mike Hoss, who is the play-by-play voice of the Saints. Mike, thank you for hopping on today.
Sure, loved it.
And Katherine Terrell covers the team for The Athletic. Katherine, thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
This is the first time that we will have two guests on a Wednesday. I usually send these out and hope to get a couple of nibbles for somebody to come on. And it's a first come, first served deal. I was so excited to have both of you respond. Though my wife said, well, why don't you just invite them both on? So here we are. So I appreciate both of you very much. When did you guys, Katherine, we'll start with you. When did you head out for Washington? I assume you'll be going to the game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to Cincinnati first to visit a friend. So I actually leave on Thursday. Usually I leave on Saturday. So yeah, I'll be heading on the road early, but I'm looking forward to it.
And Mike, when does the team head up? You head up with the team?
I do not. Because of the COVID situation, we fly separately. So I'm leaving a little earlier on Saturday to try to see some friends in the DC area from college. And then for the first time this season, there's actually a flight home to New Orleans on Sunday. Normally we have to stay the next day, get up at 4:00 in the morning. So we leave Sunday evening. So that's a first for us. So looking forward to that.
And Katherine, you mentioned Cincinnati. That was your first stop, correct? You were with The Athletic covering the Bengals for a little bit, if I did not.
No, it was actually my second. I used to cover the Saints for the Times-Picayune, and then I covered the Bengals for ESPN before coming back home to cover the Saints for The Athletic.
And Mike, interesting story for you. I read you had put your hat in the ring for this gig before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. After Jim Henderson retired in 2017, there were a bunch of us. And then when Zach put his name in, he was the right guy. I told the radio station the same thing. I mean, Zach was a super good guy, smart. And so, yeah, in 2018, when they picked Zach, I was in the running at that point.
And you're talking about Zach Strief, who eventually
Yes.
left to get onto the coaching staff.
He did. Yeah, I'm stunned at the reason, but because he knows and I know and Kat knows assistant coaches and the amount of workload that they take on, but he loves it and he's a great teacher for those young players. So I've talked to him many times. He's happy. I can't say that I wasn't surprised because I was.
I think people actually would be surprised at how many people turn down coaching gigs simply because of the amount of time that goes in that those guys put in. It's incredible, really, to think of. Mike, we were talking briefly before the show got started. You are from the DC area originally, and so this would be an interesting game for you. You grew up a Washington fan, and now you were asking me, will you be getting in trouble if Redskins slipped? I said, no, I think you'll be all right. But it's interesting because this will be your first time covering Washington since the name change, I guess.
Right. Be my first time covering them. Yeah, in a long time, really. I've never, I grew up as a kid in Manassas, Virginia, just outside of DC. And we were Washington season ticket holders. I'm going to be dead Sunday. Washington season ticket holders from, my whole upbringing. So that was my team. That was my favorite team. When I was in college, my freshman roommate for a part of our first year was Gary Clark. We became friends, and certainly what he did for Washington for years to come. And so, yeah, they were my team. And when I came down here in New Orleans, you kind of lose your ability to be a fan when you cover the team. You just difficult. Then in 06, I left. I was in news, and so I became a season ticket holder in 2006, and kind of reignited being a fan. And that was those years were such a blast. But yeah, I've never actually been to FedEx in Landover. My whole world was RFK. So it'll be new. Maybe the new setting will allow me to say Washington football team.
I think you'll be disappointed if you're recalling RFK compared to FedEx.
I've not heard a lot of good things. I'll say that.
Well, let's get into some football. Katherine, it couldn't be two more different quarterbacks that left, and they couldn't be two more different quarterbacks that are on the team. What are they doing to help the new quarterback be successful? Because they certainly can't expect them to do the same things that Breeze did.
Yeah, I mean, super interesting. The running theory among fans right now is they're too conservative with Jameis Winston. And, I don't know if that's true or not, but it does take time to build those relationships. And I think that they kind of have the luxury of having a very good defense, other than, they had some bad plays against the Giants, but they're pretty solid all around. So this defense can kind of carry them, and they don't have to have Jameis Winston put the game on his shoulders. I mean, at least not yet. So I guess what they're trying to do is kind of not make him feel like he has to do everything. And then you have these turnovers that, he's so famous for or whatever, that you kind of saw a little bit earlier in the season in one of the losses, or the loss against the Panthers, when he kind of reverted back to doing that. So I think that's the Saints' plan, run the ball a lot, kind of focus on Alvin Kamara, let Jameis do things within the confines of the offense, but don't try to make him do too much.
Mike, Katherine brought up the run game, and I was looking back just a little bit to prep for the game, and it didn't feel like they got Kamara going early and often in the first couple of games. I would assume that's the recipe for success, is making him the focal point.
Yeah, I would agree. And to Kat's point as well, I think we've seen already from Jameis enough of the deep ball, the 55 to Deontay, the deep pass to Marquez Callaway, the touchdown to Kenny Stills to call back. So I think she's 100% correct that they are trying to kind of instill in him that they don't need that. But I also think it can be a big weapon for them moving forward, because it's not been really one that the Saints have had the last few years. And you mentioned Kamara, he had an awesome game running the football, especially on first down, where I think this team, that can certainly change a game. They had 14 runs on first down, and Kamara had 12 of them and averaged 5.8 yards on running first down. So that puts you in 2nd and 4, in a 2nd and 5, and that plays right into the Saints offense. There were so many things that this offense did well. It was hard to, take out a lot of things, but when the Giants scored 2 touchdowns on 18 seconds, the time of possession means a lot less when they score touchdowns in 18 seconds, and your first 7 drives are into Giants territory, and you get 0 points in the first 3 drives. I think that first 3 drives to me was just so kind of monumental in giving the Giants confidence and not being able to kind of put a team down when you have a chance.
It's interesting, Mike, you mentioned the deep ball and the receivers. I had to go look at who the receivers are on the team, as somebody that doesn't follow the team. I mean, Michael Thomas is hurt, and I'm not sure what the status is for him, but I mean, really, I was surprised at the lag. It seems like that's a team that was built off the passing game, and the receivers, not a bunch of household names in the receiver room.
Pat, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I would estimate that most people outside New Orleans cannot name more than one receiver on the Saints team right now. They currently playing receiver. It is what it is right now. Michael Thomas is on PUP. He won't be back for a while. Traquan Smith has been hurt, and we've barely even seen him since training camp, really. I think he caught 4 passes in training camp, and he would have gone into training camp as their number 2 behind Michael Thomas. So really, you got a cast of unknowns. Marquez Callaway is probably meant to be their de facto number one right now, but he's kind of had a slow start. I think he's really starting to finally get going. And then really the most consistent receiver right now is Deontay Harris, which really surprised me because for the first 2 years of his career, he's been this guy. He's lightning fast. He's a game changer. And yet he did get hurt a little bit and they didn't want him to get hurt. So he was only used sporadically. And now I think they're really kind of leaning on him more to be more than a kick returner. And so when he gets the ball, I mean, he's been consistently explosive. So you have those two, and then Chris Hogan, and then a few more that people might not know. But it's kind of funny when Alvin Kamara is your number one pass catcher and he's not even a receiver.
Adam Troutman is the tight end now. Did he get the starting gig there, the young guy?
Yes, he is, I guess, but it's really been this 2020 undrafted rookie, Juwan Johnson, who was a receiver last year, that has made the bigger plays. Where he's been the more consistent pass catcher. Now, Troutman plays a lot, and he is in there blocking a lot, but I couldn't tell you the target share right now, but it does seem like Juwan Johnson has been targeted more, but he plays less. They also have Nick Vannett, but he's been on IR, so I expect he could come back this week. I don't know, probably after the bye. So yeah, I mean, it's just, different than last year when they had Josh Hill and Jared Cook, and it's practically no one in that room that you'd recognize at this point.
Mike, it's early in the week, but what does the injury report look like?
Well, Tony Jones, they signed a new kicker, but that wasn't an injury situation. We're still waiting on Eric McCoy at center, Teron Armstead, left tackle. Can't jump in here because I'm just trying to think.
Well, most of the hurt guys are on IR,
right?
And they could come back, but again, they'll probably come back after the bye, and that's defensive end. Marcus Davenport has been hurt. Linebacker Chase Hansen, he's more of a special teams player. Linebacker Quan Alexander. There's so many. It's a very long list. Obviously, kicker Will Lutz is on IR. He won't be back at least until next week, since they signed a kicker. The weird part is they can come back, right? I mean, like Quan and all that. They're only on the free game. They could come back, but they're just not. Right? It's like, so it's kind of this is not an easy team to really do the injury game with, because with the 3 game, Will Clapp came back because his 3 was up. Will Lutz is available to come back. A lot of these guys are available, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. So I agree with Kat. I don't think we'll see them till after the bye week. Yeah, the biggest one is Eric McCoy, and they made, in hindsight, they made a tactical error by not putting him on IR. I guess that they thought that he was going to be out less than 3 weeks, even though the initial reports had him out into the bye. He has calf injury. So I don't know about him. I find it odd he didn't go on IR, and neither did Teron Armstead. So their offensive line has really gone through a lot this year. They've moved players around. Players have gotten hurt, and that's been a big issue. They played better last week, but the week before was 2 weeks.
I was going to ask you about the offensive line situation. I wasn't sure. I know they're built on the 2 tackles and McCoy, but they have not been playing.
It's been hit or miss. Their week 2 game, when they had a ton of players on IR in the injury report, they really struggled. They actually held up well against the Patriots. And I would say, you can chime in here, but I would say that they were okay against the Giants. I don't really remember Jameis really under duress, but it's a lot of getting used to things. You have a new quarterback, you have a right guard that didn't even take a snap at center in training camp. And then because your backup center's hurt, suddenly he's your new center, which means you have to have a new right guard and now a new tackle. So they just had no chance to form a cohesive unit. But I do think the situation is getting better. It's just kind of work in progress.
Former offensive coordinator left for the Chargers, Lombardi, right? Who stepped into that role?
That was their quarterback's coach.
Right. Well, he was the quarterback's coach. Okay.
Pete Carmichael's been the OC since he's been with the team since 06 and OC since 09.
So Ronald Curry is their new quarterback's coach.
I'm sorry, say it again. Ronald Curry?
Curry, yeah.
Yeah, Virginia
Of,
Tech guy.
I was going to say, that's a Virginia guy, right?
Virginia Tech, yeah. Speaking of which, you guys have a ton of Virginia Tech guys on your team, which I don't really care for personally, but as a James Madison guy, but we're not going to get into that. But you have a ton of them.
We had a JMU guy, Jimmy Moreland, and they sent him off to.
Bad move. Bad move.
Well, they could use him now that the tire got put on the reserve list, so they're a little short on secondary right now. You guys are not. The secondary for the Saints is really good. They drafted well. They have a mix, if I'm not mistaken, of some young players and some vets at the same time. It's the linebacker room that's hurting, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, yeah, they have a lot of linebackers hurt or just really new. I remember I was talking to their linebackers coach, Michael Hodges, during the summer, and he said something at the time to the effect of, our linebackers have only taken like less than 20 snaps outside of Demario Davis. So they just don't have a lot of experience. You got rookie Pete Werner playing, and he was hurt. Zach Bond switched from Sam linebacker to Will linebacker, and he didn't get much playing time last year. And then Chase Hansen's been around, the guy on IR, but he hasn't gotten much playing time. So it was Quan Alexander and Demario Davis. And then once Quan Alexander got hurt, it's kind of a free for all of people you've never heard of.
But when Quan was there, I found it like that linebacker core was with Quan and Demario, and give me whoever number 3 is, I'm fine. But when Quan went out, you all of a sudden went, whoa, wait a minute, and then you lost Chase. So it's amazing how one guy, he was such, he's such a phenomenal athlete, how he kind of changed the dynamic of that linebacking core.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Terry McLaurin show on offense for Washington. Will Marshawn Lattimore follow him? Is that what they do on defense, or what do we expect there?
It kind of depends on the game. And I'm next to Lattimore, I'm not really sure what they're going to do, because they've been starting a rookie at corner next to him, and he got picked on a lot last week. They had traded for Bradley Roby and then didn't really play him, I guess, because they thought their young corner, Paulson Adebo, was doing okay. So it's probably just dependent on the matchup and kind of who is playing next to Lattimore and how much they trust that person who's playing next to Lattimore. So that kind of will be interesting to see.
Yeah, they don't typically, it's not where they take Lattimore and put him on their number 1 guy all the time. And the strange thing with Roby was that he played 2 plays in New England, and then all of a sudden in the third quarter, things were getting kind of dicey with the Giants. He played a lot more in the second half of that Giants game, I think, just to kind of get some veteran leadership in there. But I mean, the whole plan with Bradley Roby was not to come in and back up, it was to come in and be a starter. So I don't know. I think we'll see more split time. I thought prior to this Giants game that Adebo had been playing very well, playing well against the tackle, against tackling, coming up and making some tackles. So I'm interested to see what they do. But yeah, Marshawn's their shutdown corner. I just don't know what the plan is on the other corner.
Let's wrap with this. I know it's early in the week, but I'm curious what your thoughts are score-wise, and maybe also what it will take for the Saints to pull out a win in Washington. Katherine, we could start with you, I guess.
For some reason, I see this as a bounce back game for the Saints. I kind of draw a line through last week. I mean, sometimes those games just happen, and the Saints have been through a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was just kind of mental fatigue at that point. So I cautiously pick the Saints to win. I think it could be a toss-up. Depends on if they actually get anything out of their pass rush, which I know has been an issue for both teams. Or both teams are. So I don't know. The Saints offense, it definitely worries me, but I could see this being like a 17-14 win for the Saints. But, who knows? I might be totally off in a few days.
I see this. I tell you, when I'm watching this, I've watched the Redskins play the Falcons 3 or 4 times already, and every game I go, well, the Falcons are going to win this game, and every game they lose, I don't understand it. They keep losing to the Washington game. I know the outcome, but I'm like, well, they're going to win. And so to me, I see a lot of the Giants and the Redskins, and they're going to go as Taylor Heineke goes, and he's not as strong as a play action as a Daniel Jones, but his ability to be elusive, throw on the run, pull it down and run. Is problematic. And so the Saints, who did not get a sack and had 6 quarterback hurries or hits on Daniel Jones, cannot let that happen again. If he runs free into that secondary and buys time, which was really what Jones did, he bought enough time to where 6 seconds, you can't cover a guy. So he would find guys wide open. And so the Saints can't afford that. And we certainly don't, I don't think either team wants it to come down to a kicker. Washington signed one to their practice squad. Dustin Hopkins missed 2 extra points, and the Saints signed Cody Parkey today and released Aldrick Rosas, who missed his last 3. Parkey, for Saints fans, whoever watches it, do not YouTube Cody Parkey, because you're going to get a video that you do not want to see, and it's beyond the Chicago game. It's like, oh, wow. And so, but the guy was, he was the 2014 Pro Bowler. So what? Aldrick Rosas was a 2018 Pro Bowler. All of these kickers, these nomads, are all Pro Bowlers at some point. You just got to get him when he's hot. So I think neither team wants it to come down to a field goal. But I agree with Kat. The Saints are good on the road. They're good the week before, an off week, and the week after it. So I like the Saints in this one, maybe 21-17.
You could never imagine that for a Washington team that hates the kicker, they brought in a backup kicker whose last name is Blewett.
Blewett, I know. It's crazy.
I
saw the same thing. Blewett.
I know. Blewett, yeah. All right, well, listen, I appreciate this a whole lot. We won't keep you because I know you both are busy. Katherine Terrell writes for The Athletic. You can find her all over the place. You got articles coming out left this week, Katherine?
I'm hoping to finish one soon, just breaking down some of the Saints' key areas against the Giants and what that means going forward against Washington. So it's just a little film thing I do every week.
And Mike Hoss is the play-by-play voice of the Saints, and you can catch him on the radio. Mike, what is the station there that you're on down there?
WWL AM 870, 105.3 FM. It's a huge 50,000 watt station that they really don't have so it's been the flagship station for many, many years. So yeah, and then stations along the network. And so I'll do some columns and some video stuff for them ahead of the game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It should be an entertaining game. Thank you both so much for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
You bet. You bet. All right, Kat, I will see you at practice or talking to Sean somewhere along the way.
30 minutes. All right, y'all have a good day.
Yep, you two have a
Y'all
safe
too.
trip.